Thank you, Ranking Member. We'll recognize now Senator Kelly for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. General Fenton, in your opening statement, you highlighted your flat budget since 2019, which appears to be a 14% decrease in purchasing power. And SOCOM has also faced some significant personnel cuts over the past years. Is it fair to say right now that the demand for special operations forces continues to increase? Is that a fair observation?
Senator, that's absolutely a fair characterization, as I've laid out in the opening statement.
And so with this flat budget, then where have you assumed any additional risk because of budgetary and personnel constraints?
Senator, I'd actually offer 2 places. In the operational arena, we've assumed risk in deterrence. As I mentioned in the opening statement, I'll assume no risk in crisis response today. That is a sacred obligation. And as we go across the spectrum in deterrence, as I've laid out, there have been instances where I've had to say no to combatant commander requirements because of operational risk and fiscal constraints in a way I haven't seen before. So first in operations deterrence. Second is in modernization. Working to have the SOCOM team, and at times tying it to the Joint Force for sure, be able to win in the future environment like we have won for years and years and years in an increasingly contested and congested environment. We're taking risks there. The inability to get after the things I think that are asymmetric, that are part of the changing character of war, do it at speed. You could add anything uncrewed, artificial intelligence, additive manufacturing, autonomy. All that, I think we're accruing high risk because we as SOCOM are not able to get after that based on a flat top line on 5 years, $1 billion in lost buying power. That is reflective of that 14% lost buying power.
Would it be fair for me to say then that a risk in deterrence, because of if you're not deterring our adversaries, there's a higher chance you're going to have to put some of your troops in harm's way, that the risk to your forces personally, risk to them being injured or killed in combat, that has gone up. And I think it's probably fair to say the same thing on the modernization side of this. If you don't have the equipment you need and you're facing a more challenging adversary, that's possibly putting folks at risk as well?
Senator, I'll take it from the modernization piece first. I think first and foremost, the risk is not winning, not being able to complete the mission in the future environment. Again, against the backdrop of what we're seeing in Ukraine with the changing character of war that has, I call it a version of symmetry and asymmetry. Symmetry being all the things, and certainly the Russian Federation had, that any nation needs to go to war, tanks and missiles and airplanes and helicopters, and then asymmetry, where Ukraine did not have that and has imposed costs on the Russian Federation through all things that we're observing, institutionalizing, and operationalizing. I think we're taking risks there, and that risk is about winning. It certainly has a force protection component to it, because if you're unable to get through the contested and congested battle space of integrated air missile defense, radio frequency spectrums knocking your things down, electronic warfare, there is a force protection component for sure to that. And I look at both, but I think it's both of those in modernization. In deterrence, I think it's more about aggregated risk, us not being able to fulfill the parts of a campaign plan or no plan that the combatant commanders absolutely would rely on. And that probably at some point has aggregated risk for his end states and certainly their operations.
Right. Thank you, General. And Mr. Jenkins, on China gray zone operations, they execute this all the time as an instrument of national power, and in their effort to supplant us as the world's preeminent superpower. So what adjustments just quickly in statute or fiscal authorities would you need to better compete and deter the PRC?
In terms of authorities, we are working sufficiently and efficiently with what we have right now. It comes down to what the General outlined in terms of resources. We clearly recognize that deterring China is not just in the South China Sea or the First Island chain, it's everywhere. And in the closed session, we'll be able to give you some good vignettes on where we are going head-to-head to deter in the irregular warfare arena to make sure that we not only meet China where they are, but where they want to be, where they're trying to be. And so in terms of authorities, we're moving out and executing on what we have, but we're always looking to evolve with them as well.
All right, if you identify something, please
We will.
come to us with that. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you, Senator Kelly. And now I recognize